Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Yoders Farm. My name is Eldon and Lowell is with me as usual. Lowell, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I think right now I'm doing better than you are.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of frustration getting this stuff set up. I guess that's what happens when you take over a month off from the podcast.
I think you've dropped about every piece of equipment in this makeshift studio.
Yeah, well, hey, here we are, and it's working now, so that's plus. Let's talk about farming.
Yeah, well, that's going about the same as what our podcast is.
Yeah. Basically took a month off, huh?
Yeah, we did. Month of vacation. It was real nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah, so I noticed on our podcast release thing, it says that we release them fortnightly.
I don't even know what that is. That every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortnightly.
That's a nice idea.
I hadn't really heard that expression for a while. I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, I guess it's been about fortnightly since we released the last podcast. End of August.
A month plus 10 days is. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. What do you want to get into the fall stuff?
I guess just kind of run down what we've been up to and what we're looking forwards to.
Okay.
And I'll chime in where I can.
Yeah, it's been an interesting fall. As you know, the whole year has kind of been interesting, and that theme has carried right over into the fall. We're late on strawberries. We're as late as we've ever been due to a number of factors. One, it's been very wet. I think we touched on that last time we recorded. We were trending kind of wet in August, and that trend continued on into September. That had something to do with it, as well as some other factors. The strawberry bed making was delayed by a lot, and so that's made us late. And there's been a lot of trouble getting tips out of Canada. Some of that at least has been blamed on the shorter COVID and relating complications, labor issues, and so forth. It's hard to know exactly what's true and what's not true these days, because everything can be blamed on COVID, and no one will argue with you. So we have some strawberry plants that are ready to plant, hoping to start in the next 2 days, maybe, if it dries up, and we can get the help we need to start planting.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have some varieties that really need to get in the ground. We're really running late with those. We have some other, our Chandler variety. We have a good number of plants actually here on the farm, but they are a little on the small side to be planting. Those are some of those that were delayed coming out of Canada. Got to our friend who grows those for us. We grow, a piece of them here, and got to him on the late side, and he grew them as quickly as he could.
Yeah.
You can't really,
you can't push.
There's only but so much you can do. It's not like you can just dump fertilizer on these things. You end up pushing or getting like too much vegetation. You really is what you're looking for in a plug is a well-developed root system with a shorter
manageable
stem out the top. You don't really need a big tall plant. So you can't just dump on the fertilizer and make up for smallness or lateness. So they're sitting here now, and of course I am pushing them a little bit. There are some things you can do, some fertilizer type products that will help boost the roots and grow your root system. And you do need to put a little fertilizer on them, but anyway, in moderation.
Yeah.
So he had over at his place, he actually had a killing frost already, 2 of them. He lives over in the mountains.
4 hours or so away.
2.5, 3, yeah.
It's at least 3.
something like
Let's
that.
not argue about dumb things.
Anyway, they'll hopefully grow a little faster, finish up over here where we have not had a killing frost yet, but we've had chilly temperatures. We've had 60s and 70s, whereas last year we were 80s.
80s and some 90s.
Pushing
I think
90s on into
days.
October. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's just been an interesting year, been a little
different year.
But I mean, every
Yeah.
you're just going to get weather challenges and challenges in general. So I guess my takeaway for this podcast is, so yeah, you have all these things that get thrown at you and different challenges, and things usually don't always work out quite, in farming just like in life. But so it's all about how do you deal with them, doing the best you can, and having some backup plans. Okay, so some things that I'm glad about this year. I'm glad that we grew some portion of our plants here. We have them here. They're ready to go. They're good size. So yeah, we're spreading risk somewhat by doing that. Row covers. Okay, we don't often, like last year, I don't think we covered till we did cover some of the early stuff.
Yeah,
we actually threw some covers on the first part of November. Some years we don't put a row cover on, a floating row cover, which if you don't know, it's like a little kind of a blanket type thing. You either use it for frost freeze protection in the spring, but it can also be used in the fall to enhance growth. Some years we don't cover till Christmas or into January. Some years, depending on the winter. Well, this is a year where we're going to use those covers to try to promote some extra fall growth. When your days are slipping down to the 50s, you can get a 15-20 degree temperature advantage
underneath
and keep them growing. So we're going to be covering a lot of stuff. I don't know if we'll cover everything, but a lot of stuff really early, like I'm thinking towards either the end of October or the very first part of November. Some of that depends on weather. So that's a backup plan. There's the planning, all that situation, the bed making, that was out of our control. So we got to make the best of it and
use the variables that you can control to do what you can. Yeah.
So, I mean, have as many contingency plans as you can, but at the end of the day, you just got to work with the hand that you're dealt, and there are other people who usually have it worse than you. And
in this case, there are people who are still having trouble getting strawberries, from what I've heard.
What I've heard, I don't know.
Yeah,
some people actually have their stuff more on time, but anyway, like we say, you can only do deal with the hand that you're dealt.
So, let's see. What else have we done around strawberries? Is that pretty much it on strawberry stuff?
Yeah, so we're going to plant. We're going to hope for a nice, moderate type of fall, a long growing season yet.
Yeah.
On into November, and hopefully it doesn't get cold till well into December, and we can actually get some decent fall growth on these things. I'm going to be treating with the same root growth enhancers, little fertilizer, probably try to do my part to promote growth where we can without getting too vegetative of a plant, and we'll see what happens.
Very good.
Try to keep the deer out of them too, which can be an issue, which is another advantage for early fall row covers. Last year we had some parts of the field that were just demolished by deer.
I guess you could argue it could be a plus for planting your strawberries later than you've ever planted.
I guess so. Less exposure to deer.
Yeah.
The only other little wrinkle, which I didn't know if we'd touch on or not, but there is a new strawberry disease which is causing a little bit of concern in some parts. It's especially been affecting the Florida industry for the last couple of years. Seems to be linked to some plant sources out of North Carolina, the mountains of North Carolina. Fancy word, neopestilopsis or something like that. Anyway, unfortunately, I'm starting to get an education on it. Oddly enough, I got a few plants from that nursery just to try.
From one of those sources, yeah.
We talked about it last podcast. These North Carolina varieties are interesting ones.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it looks like the plants that I got had the disease.
Mm.
So, according to the lab report, I hope we ended up, we didn't have terribly many of those, but we ended up just discarding those plants. I hope that it didn't spread into my clean stock. I have actually ran down and met with a plant specialist yesterday, hour and a half away or so. He's looking at the stuff that I grew, the clean stock, and hopefully it hasn't jumped over into those yet. Anyway, it's very complicated. Just because you find these spores on your plants doesn't necessarily mean you have the strain that's going to be a problem. But if
what
you
does it do to the plant? Do you know?
Severe. Well, it depends. Severe leaf spotting, fruit damage, and in some places it actually causes the plants to collapse and die in the fields.
Okay.
Hopefully. Anyway.
Yeah, and
it's a real issue down in Florida, and it has been for a couple of years. It's just now getting on the radar here, kind of in the middle Atlantic.
It's something you can spray for somewhat, but you said it's like a 50 or 60%.
Unfortunately, now a lot of the common fungicides don't really do a whole lot against it. Okay. So
I thought you had said 60%.
Yeah,
something the other day.
Yeah, I mean,
but
which isn't a whole lot.
Yeah, but I mean it's something.
I guess. Anyway, there a lot of research and stuff is gonna. We're learning about it more and more right here. I don't know what it's going to mean for Florida. There were a lot of ties to this nursery, and who knows? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the plant supply in Florida came from this nursery, so I'm really curious to see what's going to happen down there. Not that their industry is sort of different. It's much more based on the wholesale market and grocery stores and stuff like that, whereas most of the stuff here in the Mid-Atlantic is more the fresh market
pick your own
approach
and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But anyway, that's kind of on the radar, and it's scary. It's a bad, it can really affect things, and it seems to be quite have the ability to really spread through a field, which is not,
and stick around. Like it's not
potentially jump over into other things, and it's been an issue in like Mexico and Brazil. If you Google it, Spain, you'll pull up stuff from there. Anyway, there's always something to worry about. So that's kind of on the radar. Hopefully, it's something that we won't really have to deal with here on our farm, but you never know. And the only other thing I'll touch on is in Florida, the plant establishment is quite a bit different than here. Here we grow plugs, plant them in September. Rarely do people overhead water unless you're planting them earlier in September when it's pretty hot. I mean, some people do, but in Florida they're planting like fresh dugs or bare root plants, so they require a whole lot more water to establish.
Be similar to like when you hook the plants, they need water just to
sort of along those lines. I mean, you're talking like a week or two of pretty intense overhead water. Well, if you think about it, water and things like that can spread this disease.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe that's more why it might be an issue in Florida. I don't know. I'm just speculating and hoping. And of course, our climate is different than ours as well.
Much cooler.
Very, very humid climate. So maybe maybe our colder temperatures up here, winter time isn't as ideal. Maybe it doesn't become quite the issue in the industry up here.
Unfortunately, that's just something we'll have to learn more about over the years to come, I guess.
Other than that, that's enough on strawberries.
Okay.
our greenhouses, we're working at getting those back into production. We have plants in 2 of them and almost to seed the 3rd one.
Okay.
Maybe even today.
Very good.
So plants are looking fair, but we're a ways from picking ripe tomatoes probably in November on those.
Yeah, that's Dad was saying mid-November, maybe.
Probably something
maybe
like
a
that.
little later even.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see.
And then fall. What do you want to say about fall?
I don't know. Yeah, we've started our fall season. We are, 2 weekends into it?
Yes,
I think we have 5 more weekends, maybe 6 if you count the first Saturday in November. But yeah, I don't know what all we want to talk about in relation to it. There are some things we've done differently. No hay rides this fall to help cut down on people being packed together.
Yeah, due to COVID.
Yeah.
If someone happens to be listening to this in the future.
Yeah.
10 years in the future.
Yeah, due to the apocalypse.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, we're running things kind of similar to spring as far as trying to keep our lines moving.
Yeah.
People checked in. We went to a web-based ticket thing. I mean, that
at least
option,
partially, yeah, for corn maze
maybe
tickets.
to streamline the check-in process into the corn maze. Signage and so forth. Some of those guidelines are from VDAX and I guess from VDAX. Anyway, guidance from above.
Yeah.
And so we're trying our best to follow those guidelines, keep everyone safe, and keep the farm open to the public.
Yeah, in a safe and hopefully semi-profitable way.
Seeing very similar trends to spring. We've had a couple of busy Saturdays, busier than the opening weekends last year. So typically we keep getting busier and busier into October until Halloween, basically.
Which some of that, I wonder if it's related to just cooler temperatures and people starting to think fall things sooner
I think
than they did.
It's definitely a combination.
But yeah, people are definitely wanting to get out. I've got more emails recently about groups in the corn maze and stuff like that. People just looking for stuff to do in October.
Well, there's a lot of things that are shut down too, or not happening. Festivals, high school football, different things, and so it just makes it harder for people to find activities. So, if a corn maze is running, is an activity, and pumpkin sales have been strong. We're getting lots of calls. Like, we're not really a wholesale pumpkin supplier. We're getting calls wondering if we are.
Calls and emails and Facebook messages, actually.
And some of that's because our information is pretty easy to find on the World Wide Web, and because we do podcasts and silly things like that.
Yeah.
And
although I don't know if the 7 people that listen to this would be the folks calling about wholesale.
We have websites pumpkins and things.
Yeah.
So some of it's because of that, but some of it's just because of an uptick in pumpkin demand.
Yeah.
And it seems to be throughout the state.
Yeah, you've heard from some other sources that they're seeing a major uptick in demand too, right?
Yeah, I've heard pumpkins are already in short supply and things like that, so happy for every pumpkin that we grew. Pumpkin crop is, You
still can't tell because we haven't had a frost to wilt those leaves
some of the
down.
vines in the early fields are really starting to die down, and there are good numbers of pumpkins.
Which reminds me, I need a up-to-date picture of that, but anyhow.
Yeah, I think the pumpkin crop was fair. I don't think it was terrific. Maybe the numbers aren't quite there, but it seems like the quality is good, at least so far. Of course, we've had,
as long as it doesn't keep raining,
9 or 10 inches of rain in like the last week and a half.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's been incredible.
But the pumpkin size is good. Color seems decent. Stems are still pretty nice, so
take what we can get. Work with it. Yeah.
We'll just work with the weather. I think I've heard that before. You can only do what you can do.
Yeah. Yep. The corn maze is still green. not still growing probably, but
maybe slowly.
Yeah,
we're
what do you think our average height is out there? It's pretty impressive.
Probably 11, 12 feet at least,
Yeah.
and probably taller than that in some spots. Yeah, it was an interesting year for growing this particular new variety of corn. So yeah, we'll have to make some decisions on whether we want to do that again next year. I think we're all pretty impressed with the corn itself. Just wondering if we need a little bit of sorghum still mixed in to try to thicken up the bottom.
Yeah, some of that's
because the corn got so tall too, I think.
Yeah, probably shaded stuff out.
Well, no, it just kind of stretches.
Oh, you mean
some of its leaves?
The lower leaves are higher.
Maybe so. I mean, a lot of places the ears are run around head level.
Yeah. If you step up on the platform, it's different than most years too. Most years you can kind of see the trails out through there and see people walking on them. A little bit less so this year. It's actually kind of hard to see much trails at all.
You can't really see people down in the maze at all.
The other night there was somebody we needed to go get after dark and
hopelessly lost.
Yeah, I was trying to see out there and
to see a light.
It was a sea of darkness to begin with, and so I thought about trying to stand up on the edges, but decided it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah. Had a lot of good comments on our maze from people going through it. Both the corn is nice and tall and pretty, and the height helps, and pretty cool maze design if you want to find pictures of it on our website, I guess. All right, well, I got to get going.
So all right, well, let's wrap this up. I think that's basically it. We'll try to do it again sometime. Another podcast, that is.
Fortnightly.
Yeah, maybe. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to find out more about Yoders Farm, yodersfarm.com is the best place to do that. And
more than you ever need to know.
A lot more, actually.
Swing by the snack shack and grab a funnel cake.
Yep. All right, we'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks, hopefully. See ya.